All right, everyone, today's species of focus is the chestnut tree. This will be a two-part video because this is fairly lengthy information on these trees. There are many species, and I am just going to lump it into one video and not go over every species. First off, let's go with the cons. The tree marketing system when the tree come out was a bit of a major con in my opinion. The tree you're looking at is a Dunstan chestnut tree. A lot of tree companies were advertising this as a 75-25% American tree. 75% Chinese, 25% American. People were buying these left and right thinking that they were getting a 75% American, which at 75% would be an enormous tree, which means you would have tons and tons of good high quality nuts. Well, that's not the case with these trees. Tissue test is the answer, and they came back showing it's only 3 to 5% American, 90% Chinese, and a span of 5 to 7% of some other chestnut tree mixed in. So it's a low grade Chinese chestnut mutt. So that can turn some people off. Even though these trees themselves are actually pretty good trees, it's just you need to be aware of what you're actually buying. All right, another con to this tree is deer love them, and not the type of love for the nuts or the leaves you think. The bucks want to rub these trees. If you do not protect your trees, you will be crying tears after the rut is over. They will destroy these trees. I've had a few in the past here that got hit because I didn't put protectors out on them. And I had two on the back end, that one and this one, both nearly died because of that. That's the only two trees I didn't put protectors on. They both got hit. So make sure you protect them with some sort of fencing or plastic pole, like a gutter piece. Some people do that. Another con is this is almost the time of year to where the nuts are getting closer to falling off. Do not, and I repeat, do not shake these trees. You will regret that immediately. These burrs hurt like a son of a gun, and I mean hurt. They will draw blood, break off under your skin. Do not shake those trees unless you're wearing some gloves, a protective hard hat, and maybe some shoulder pads, because it stings bad, and I've done it. I've been stupid and I've done it. Do not walk under these trees barefoot. You will highly regret that. I've not been that dumb, but just be very careful when you're around these trees. These trees also become somewhat dangerous depending on nut production. The more you see, the heavier these limbs become, and the odds a limb breaks in a storm or even a fairly decent wind can greatly increase. Now, don't get me wrong, they are strong limb trees. They have to be, but there still comes a point to when there's too many nuts on a limb and it will break off. So be careful about that. If you're standing under your chestnut trees and wind really starts picking up on them, you need to probably move away. All right, so what's another con? It just depends on whose eyes you see it through. If you don't want deer touching the tree, that's a thing that you need to be careful of, because they will eat these leaves. They are nutritional for the deer. So you have to trim these trees above the eating line where the deer tend to browse. All right, so another con, the pest. This tree succumbed to ambrosia beetle. Died this year, had a full infestation, couldn't do a thing about it. This tree is also a victim that I saved. That tree died from it. So there's been multiple trees that have got it and died. And I have learned over time what to do and have really reduced the amount of attacks on the trees. If you do not stop ambrosia, they will spread to your other trees and they can wipe out large swaths of your trees. So all this growth and all this production will be gone in a span of a week or two if you don't stop it. All right, so there's a fairly lengthy list of cons, but the benefits are even more. So you always want to weigh the pros and cons of these trees. One benefit, I'm going to jump right into it here. This tree's a good example. Look at how fast these trees are growing. This is on average of 3.5 to 4 feet in length. The main leader is nearly 6 feet in length, if not touching 6. Very, very rapid growth. The American can grow faster than this, but this one is very adequate for its species type. So what does that mean? Because of the fast rate of growth, that means production of the nuts ramps up very, very quickly. A lot of limbs real quick means a lot of nuts real quick. Pound for pound, these trees produce more than any oak tree. A Dunstan will probably get you in the neighborhood of 400 to 500 pounds of chestnuts, depending on how old the tree is, the size of the tree. There's a lot of variables that can go into that. Healthier the better. Do not fertilize these trees when they get older. You'll actually decrease nut production. Leave them be. Do not fertilize. Do it when they're young, which also is another thing. These trees produce at a young age. That is a big benefit, so you don't have to wait too long. If you want to spend the extra money, a lot of companies will sell you a tree that is 2 to 7 years old. And oftentimes, if you buy the 7-year-old trees, there's probably already some sort of burr on them. So you don't really have to wait. It's just you need a larger tree over time to build up the sheer mass that these trees make. The average burr will get you anywhere from 1 to 4 nuts. And let me zoom in here real quick. So there's one. Look, about the size of a baseball. There's others in here that are big as tennis balls, and some that are even larger. The bigger the burr, the better the odds that it's got 3 to 4 in it. 4 is more rare, but it can happen. You're most likely going to get 1 before you get 4. Another thing is these nuts are some of the highest nutritional nuts you can get. If you want to pack on healthy fat and body weight to a deer before the rut goes away, or starts, I should say, these are the perfect trees to have. Generally during archery season, if you're a big time bow hunter, you probably want to be near one of these trees and you'll get you a good deer. Once they find them, they'll keep coming back to them. A lot of deer have not seen chestnuts in a long time now. But a lot of the people that do the chestnut studies show that as soon as they set them out, compare them to oak trees, deer immediately skip the oak nuts and hit the chestnuts instantly. So it's still in their DNA to get them. It may take a little while. Another benefit is the size of the tree itself. If you're looking for something bigger than a Chinese chestnut, this tree actually does grow a little larger than the average Chinese tree. A Chinese tree will generally be 40 to 50 feet or a little taller. These Dunstans probably could hit closer to 65 to 70. There was one on record about 12 years ago. The tree was 30 years old and 60 feet tall and approximately maybe 30 feet wide. I'm not exactly sure. But they can become larger than a standard Chinese tree, which means more nuts can be produced per tree than a standard Chinese nut. So in the long run, it will outproduce a standard Chinese chestnut. Although the American is number 1 in nut production. It smokes any oak tree, not even close. Matter of fact, it's closer to 3 times the amount of nuts that big white oak can make. Another big benefit, that is the nuts themselves are not, let's see, how should I say this? They're not full of tannin. They're extremely sweet nuts, and I've eaten one of these and they taste like a super sweet peanut. Deer love peanuts, so the attraction level for these will be extremely high. Another benefit, and I can't prove this, but there has been some people claiming that when they did American chestnut studies of existing trees, they found that the nitrogen level in the soil on average was 10% higher around the roots. So whatever the expanse of the roots was, the nitrogen was 10% higher. They theorized that this tree has some ability to synthesize nitrogen, almost like a giant clover plant or legume. I can't really say it is or isn't, but there is that possibility for one of the benefits. All right, now due to the length of this video, I got to make a part 2, so I'm going to shut this off and do part 2. Hang on.